Tillie Tink Tink here with Perfect Abundance Part 6, David's Abundance. If you're just now stumbling onto my blog, you might want to start at the beginning of this series so this will make better sense. So the link to Perfect Abundance Part 1 little arrow is in the description below. I also see it mentioned in 1 Samuel 18:5 that he, talking about David, behaved himself wisely. David was accepted by men, prepared by God, understood God was in control. David had faith in God's power. David was humble, and David behaved wisely. There were some drawbacks to David's abundance, mainly jealousy from King Saul. David had not even reached the full potential of his abundance when people started noticing. But in chapter 18, verse 14, David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. I personally believe that wisdom is one of the keys to abundance, and according to Proverbs, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. I suggest a good personal study of the book of Proverbs for an in-depth look into wisdom. David also had something else noteworthy: loyalty. Regardless as to how many times Saul tried to kill him, David remained loyal. David spent the majority of his adult life hiding in caves or fighting in wars. God knew he was going to need all the qualities I've listed so far and more in order to survive the type of life God planned for him. The same is true for my abundance and your abundance. Everything that has happened to you in your life up until this point has prepared you for what God still has planned for your life. When I was 10 years old, I loved to write books and poems, and I loved to read. In high school, I was accused of plagiarism because my work was just that good. In college, I studied to become a nurse. Once I read all the books, I then had to apply what I learned at the bedside of a sick patient. It took a long time for me to figure out what God had planned, but I took a long look inside what I'm good at and what I was good at as a child. This helped me to figure out what God has planned for me, as well as gain my perfect abundance. Take the time to do the things you are naturally good at, and take the time to add some, if not all, of David's abundant qualities. Here's the full list for review. David had a good heart. Be loving of others every chance you get. He had the Holy Spirit. Spend time with God. Pray. Read His words. Be sensitive to His Spirit. It is, after all, what gives us comfort. Listen to that still small voice. David was good looking. Now, I know our God-given features are our own, but take the time to take care of yourself. Take pride in how you look. Not to the point of being vain, but love yourself. Be kind to yourself. Think about what you put into your body. Health wealth is part of perfect abundance. This concept actually leads to others sensing the good about you, which leads to favor. David was favored by men. People found comfort in David. They liked him. They followed him. This reminds me of the quote, "To make friends, you must first be friendly." How you treat others is extremely important when it comes to your abundance. You have the golden rule, and what goes around comes around. Even other religions focus on how we treat others, like the idea of karma, for example. As much focus as is given to how we treat others, I have to pretty much guarantee it correlates with our own perfect abundance. David was prepared. In many ways, God prepared David for his abundant life. See, the abundant life is not just a breeze down easy street, it's actually quite hard. Imagine how being in battle all the time must have been. What kind of life is that? Definitely not an easy one. Imagine living on the run and hiding in caves. That can't be easy either. So from what I gather, abundance does not equal easy, but I do believe it is worth it. Think about some of the trials you've already been through. What happened, and how did God play into that story? God helped David fight lions and bears so he could kill giants and conquer nations. Remember what God has taught you with your past so He can lead you into your abundance in the future. David understood God is in control. Many times we like to think life just happens and there's nothing else. Or we like to blame others, maybe our parents or our spouse. But God is always in control. God is in control when we lose our jobs, when volcanoes erupt, when storms hit, hurricanes collide. Pandemics break out, stocks crash, ships capsize, and oil rigs blow. God is in control all the time. Knowing this and living in such a way that lets Him be the one in control ultimately leads you to your perfect abundance. David had faith in God's power. Have you experienced God's power in your life? I have. Think back to a time when you know God's power was working in your life. Write down the story and put it where you can read it often, and remind yourself of His power. I could and probably should write a whole nother book on growing your faith, but the best way for me is to remind myself what He has done for me. The book of Hebrews is a good place to start for examples, but growing your faith will allow you to grow your abundance. It goes hand in hand. After all, faith can move mountains. David was humble. Just think, he was the last person his own father thought would be king. He had duties of taking cheese to soldiers, playing a harp, and watching sheep. Yet he humbly did as he was told, and the whole time God was preparing him. Are you currently doing things you know you could do greater? Maybe in your job, your home life. Learn a lot in the little things. Do your best in the little things. Let yourself learn in the little things. I started playing school in my bedroom when I was a little girl, and here I am writing blogs, owning companies, raising kids, and telling others what I learn about God. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. He that diligently seeketh good procureth favor, but he that seeketh mischief, it shall come to him. Proverbs 11:27. Continue this series, Perfect Abundance, Time Wealth, and you can subscribe and find out when it's available. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. And as always, have a blessed day, and thank you for watching Tillie Tink Tink, Perfect Abundance.